know, does age appropriateness, and maybe the age of your kids, you can explain a little bit about that. Is there a difference with each age and the topic of race?
Yes, we call them the bigs, my 15 and 13-year-old, and then we call her the blessing, the 5-year-old. They're all blessings, but at the same time, yes. And here's an example, if you don't want me sharing this experience. Recently this summer, I took my 5-year-old to downtown Minneapolis to Cup Foods, and I wanted her to see, and I wanted to watch her experience the George Floyd memorial. I thought it was super important. And I wanted to see it through her eyes versus my 15 and 13-year-old, because my 15 and 13-year-old already have experiences and prejudices and thoughts and opinions and all these voices coming at them, right? Whereas my 5-year-old, she hasn't had that yet. Life is good, life is fun. So I took her down there, and it was so interesting to watch her. And she wasn't fearful. She was talking to people. People would touch her hair and touch her face, and she wasn't scared. It was a beautiful moment for her to be part of something that I think forever will be etched in a lot of our memories. I hope it's etched in everybody's memory, that you can all come together, and it's different and it's uncomfortable, but watch it through her eyes. And then the questions came, Mom, what happened? Why did that man die? Where did he die? Well, how did he die? You know? And she didn't watch any of the YouTube videos or the media or anything. These were her questions. And I thought that was super important.
That is so important.
My 15 and 13-year-old already had questions because they saw it on LeBron James' feed. They saw it on something else. So they already had a narrative or a perspective that they were feeding into, right or wrong. But it was, and I wouldn't say it's tainted, it was, they're impressionable because they were already feeding into some of the social media. Whereas my 5-year-old, I'm like, I want your raw input. And sometimes you just gotta rip that Band-Aid off and see what's gonna happen. See if it's gonna keep, you know, so I thought, we're just gonna take you down there and I want you to see everything.
Yeah, and I love that because I think that has such a huge, it's such a huge factor, right? Like maybe you wouldn't sit Macy down because she's 5 and obviously brain development stuff, right? Like you're not gonna be like, hey, watch this video, because that could be maybe traumatic, right? But you actually took her to the experience, like you're saying, and it was a beautiful experience. But what's so interesting to me is that your bigs already had the experience, like you're saying, and it not tainted. But that's what I love about this conversation, and I think what I want to encourage and what you're already doing is you get to set the foundation for your family around this conversation, right? So it's either you or somebody else will. And so I just love that with Macy and with the olders, it was so different. Like you weren't gonna have that same conversation, the same interactions, right? And maybe you take the bigs to the experience, but such a different filter.
It is.
Because the age, I think it's so important when you're talking to your kids to be age appropriate with these conversations. It doesn't mean you have to shy away or be scared or not talk about it, because we have to actually talk about it. But I think that's probably what a lot of parents struggle with too, is like how?
How do you start?
How do we start, right? And so I just love what you're doing. And I know that we've had conversations before, and one thing that I love that you said is that you're just living it, right? So like, you're mindful of locking the doors when a certain maybe color skin comes by. Like, I remember you saying that, where it's like, Macy's gonna see exactly the things that I'm doing. And that's how she's gonna start to take on, right? That's what the persona, the character, the integrity that she's gonna start to take on. So it really starts with you and your husband, and how, and I think that's so admirable. Just the actions that you guys are taking and that you brought me. I think I just absolutely love that.